done. Intro. It's intro time. Shush. Everyone shut up. We are going to jump into our first story here. So the first story we are going to be talking about is your boy, the Godzilla.
A big ass lizard.
Godzilla. Godzilla -1 director Toho comes back. No, wait, no. Toho is the studio.
Yeah.
Toho is the studio.
You're
Takashi Yamazaki is the director who created Godzilla -1. Godzilla -1 is unequivocally my favorite of those movies, of all of them. There's not a Godzilla that stacks up to in my opinion. And you might be like, what about
2001 with Matthew Broderick?
Matthew Broderick? I was like, fuck Matthew Broderick. I don't know.
That's the first one I've ever seen.
And mine too. I mean,
that's some nostalgia for that movie.
That's the generation we grew up in. But I mean, they couldn't even afford to put the Godzilla face on the cover art of the movie. They had to put his foot on it.
That might be one of my favorite designed Godzillas.
I think that's fair. I actually really like the 2014.
Angular.
I think the 2014 one kind of made him like, sure, he's a giant lizard, but he's also like you watch Godzilla fight. He fights with like his fists and stuff in like a lot of older films.
Yeah, because it's a dude in a suit.
I know, but and I mean, even in Godzilla -1, he's like basically a T-Rex shaped creature. So I like the 2014 design. I don't know if I could really make a good argument for why it's like my favorite.
Yeah, I gotta finish this movie. I haven't finished it yet.
Godzilla -1, I last spotted it on Netflix. They had the English voice dubbed, so you can watch it in English.
Don't be gay.
Well, here's what I'll say about the English dub. The English dub is bad in like it's so obvious that it's dubbed. It's impossible to not notice it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean by bad. There were shows on Netflix, like Barbarian was a show that I think was originally in Dutch.
Mm-hmm.
So they did an English dub for that. You could probably watch that show without it and forget about it being an English dub.
I mean, in live action, I'd say always watch the original subtitle version.
Yeah.
But in anime, I think it doesn't fucking matter to me.
This movie is so like artistic and just really well done. The CGI in this film, the only thing in the CGI in this film I don't like is the eyes of Godzilla. It's really like, it's a small nitpick, and it's really not even nitpicky. I'm just saying that's just like, hey, look at that flag in the background, doesn't belong there, right?
Well,
it's so small and insignificant, it doesn't actually matter, but it's a attention to detail thing.
It looks a lot better than 90% of movies that come out that have $200+ million budgets, when this one had 15 or below.
15 or below. It had a runtime a runtime in theaters in its original Japanese. Then it had a runtime in its original Japanese in noir. So it had
white.
It had black and white. So it had 2 runs in theaters in its original version. Then you put it on Netflix. It's got the English dub, which I don't think even the studio probably was thinking this was not going to be a huge thing. I mean, they put it in theaters, but it wasn't even a major release, right? They didn't do a lot of marketing. This movie had such strong legs strictly from word of mouth, and it's a overseas film in the original Japanese language. It's a subtitled movie.
It's rare when those movies that come from the East become mainstream. Like, I remember in 2019 when Parasite came out.
Yeah.
That was like the biggest hit. And it won Best Picture, but who cares about the Oscars?
Right.
But yeah, I'm like, yeah, fuck it, I'll turn it on. It was a fucking really good movie.
This movie, yeah. And this movie carries hard. Like, you feel for it. You feel the disaster of everything. You feel like Godzilla is the enemy of the story, whereas the 2014 and beyond, the MonsterVerse is the MonsterVerse version of Godzilla. Now you have Kong in it. You're gonna have other monsters. You have a lot of other monsters already added into the series, into the universe. But that movie series, that universe is turning into Fast and Furious.
I was just gonna say
it's like the Godzilla Kong dynamic. It's a buddy cop film.
Yeah, it's The Rock and Vin Diesel.
It's the Rock and Vin Diesel.
They hate each other.
Rock and Jason Statham probably more because they had their own Hobbs movie, or Calvin and Hobbs.
Calvin and Hobbs. Whatever the fuck it's
Hobbs and Shaw. But yeah, so the newer Godzilla films are just nightmarishly bad in that storytelling context.
2014, I think, had it had potential. Like there was some amazing like shots and cinematography.
You
work.
Bryan Cranston in it for a minute.
Yeah, you kill him off, and then the whole movie just kind of sucks ass after.
Yeah, the villain in that movie, like the bug monsters, they have names. I'm not trying to just not remember their names, but I am forgetting. That Godzilla had to fight. It was like the male and the female, like had to come together and make
we
billion
watched
babies.
a couple of kaiju's fuck in the city.
It was a good time
I
though.
think the best one out of the MonsterVerse was actually Skull Island. Nobody likes that movie.
Skull Island. Wait, is Skull Island the one with Jack Black?
No, that's Peter Jackson's 2005 movie.
That one. Well, that movie, I love. I thought that movie was really good.
I was young when I watched it, and I haven't gone back. I don't think I appreciated it.
It's a 3-hour Godzilla film. There's
Kong.
Oh, a 3-hour Kong film. Yes. And it's not a part of the MonsterVerse, so it's not relevant to like the current generation of films. But it was still, I thought it was still really good. I thought it was great CGI for the time. The T-Rex versus Kong fight is iconic. I think that fight was
very true.
Kong fights 3 T-Rex.
The fucking bug scene was ugh.
I mean, yes, but it was powerful and it was memorable.
Right.
And it's not memorable it's not memorable for being for grossing you out. It's memorable because it's like it's a pretty intense scene.
Yeah, I think it was also the first movie after Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, so there were very high expectations.
Well, I don't know how well the movie performed. We'd have to dig in and look into it, but and here's something I think you guys will really appreciate. Here is the official announcement from Godzilla official at Godzilla Toho. You guys are going to appreciate this. Let's make sure do a quick
臨時ニュースを申し上げます。
Yeah,
That's it. I love it ends with further updates to follow. I love that. No,
well, with this sequel, he's gonna get an even bigger budget. So
I think that's a mistake. I think so.
Well, I want to go like balls to the wall with it. Give him like 20 mil.
Yeah, I mean, like
need $100 million to make a good movie.
But I think that having a restrictive budget, I've heard that argument be made by famous directors that forces creativity out of it forces creativity out of everybody.
Otherwise, if you got $200 million, just be like, shoot whatever, and then we'll CGI it.
I also think that this should be I think this should be done and directed in Japan. I don't know if that's in question.
Well, it's Toho Studios.
Right. So it should be done in Japan. They should do it. Whatever they did the first time, that. do it again, but
they ain't broke though. Yeah, whatever.
Do it again, but different. No, so Godzilla -1. Obviously, spoiler alert.
It's coming back to theaters.
Yeah. So the Godzilla. This is just a new Godzilla film. This isn't necessarily a continuation of the -1 Godzilla.
Not that we know of.
Not that we know of. So there's no extra details that we've got. We have Takashi talking in this one. He's going to be talking in Japanese. So again, hello everyone. I have wonderful news. I will be directing the new Godzilla film. Please stay tuned.
These are the best announcements.
These are
like, here's what's up.
Yeah.
Bye.
They are just burying us with information right now. How are we ever going to parse through all this for you guys, the audience? No, so.
Well, what also happened in the first movie is like, scroll up a little bit here.
Sure.
Right there. So he was the writer director, but he was also this VFX supervisor.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a director that understands visual effects, you get a lot cleaner product because you know how things should be shot, or like you bring in your CGI guys and they'll be like making notes while you're shooting shit. And whatnot. So it helps to have a director that
understands the concepts of it.
Yes.
Well, I think that's what made Peter Jackson, like if we're talking about Peter Jackson at least a little bit in this conversation, we could point to the Lord of the Rings films, and Godzilla -1 is not on the same page as Lord of the Rings. However, when you look at Peter Jackson's, like the way he attacked that trilogy, he does all the films as one run, and he runs it from the setting. The special effects, I think people like gripe on the special effects too much from the fact that it was like a 2003 project.
I mean, it's aged incredibly well.
It's aged so well.
Show me one bad CGI shot.
Well,
maybe the first time you see Gollum.
No, the bad CGI. So the strongest case the strongest case for bad CGI in that film is the Siege of Minas Tirith in Return of the King, when you have the orc army in the background.
Oh yeah, when you got
it's copy and pasted like because they did just have like a stack of people and they just kept cutting it over and over.
That's a quick shot though. I don't even. Really
It's
notice it.
insanely quick. You pan over, and it's really just a panning shot. You go to Denethor, who's on the wall, and he looks down, and he's like, "Don't do it."
Yeah,
It's
I think the second time you see the whole army is when Rohan shows up. So
and I mean that shot is actually better. So
that's the one I was thinking of, where it's like, I don't really.
I mean there are cases
whatever.
to complain about the CGI, but I mean -1, the way you get creative about it is what is going to make your film phenomenal.
Mhm.
When you have a studio and they're just like, here's $500 million, go make something that's going to make $1 billion. Never happens because it's not art. You know, art is a very difficult term to like play with when you're having a conversation about films and stuff, because everyone wants to make the conversation about the subjective nature, about like genres, topics. This actor did good, this actor did bad. Like,
I mean, when we talk about art, you got to bring in that, like, you know, modern art, you know, that people go to those shows and there's like some dude like left his tennis shoe on the floor and then people started crowding around it because it's like, oh my God, this is art. There worked like, there's another exhibit where it's like 2 dented cans on the floor in a specific position. And the janitor came by and threw them away, thinking that.
Oh, okay.
And he actually had to dig the cans out and have the artist replace them back on the floor.
Someone
So it's like, if some people consider that art,
someone nailed a banana to a wall, I think was one piece of art.
something to do with femininity.
I thought that was Banksy, actually. I thought it's probably not, because that's not even close to what I would normally expect. But I for some reason, I'm remembering the banana nailed to the wall story, and Banksy's in my mind.
Banksy's overrated.
He's very, in my mind, yeah, he's very overrated. Absolutely. I think I like the stunts he pulls, like when he had a shredder inside of one of his most famous paintings.
Oh,
and then at the auction, it goes for a few $1 million, and then it starts to shred.
Right.
And like, okay, that's pretty damn cool. But that's just a stunt. That's not necessarily the art of that's not necessarily art. But
Right.
I think you could probably say there's an expression in how he destroyed his painting. But I don't.
Capitalism and the bourgeoisie.
You guys are so rich. You want my art? Shred it. Well,
Banksy's probably got so much money that he doesn't even need it either.
well, and I think there's a case for. I think there's an argument to be made for vandalism. I'm like, it was owned by someone else.
Someone did buy.
Someone committed that money. You can't escape that commitment. Like if you're in an auction house, you can't. If you raise, I believe that there's some. I believe that if you commit to that, you actually are obligated. There's legal obligations there. So I think in the same way, you own it, and then Banksy destroyed your painting. So arrest him for destroying $1 million art piece.
Fuck that guy.
But the
He's like those Stop Oil protesters.
oh no, we can't. I'll segue too hard. I'll segue way too hard. The Godzilla -1 film. The news of it is that the announcement was made that Takashi is going to be returning as the director, and that's huge for Godzilla. Godzilla -1 is really the only project I loved from Godzilla.
Yeah.
And
Godzilla sucks.
Yeah. Actually, and continuing on this topic, we are gifted by Rotten Tomatoes. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. All Godzilla movies ranked by their Rotten Tomatoes score. So
God, here we go.
let's start with Godzilla -1 at a 99%.
Oh shit.
First off, it's a crit, and that's a critic score, so I don't believe that's the audience score.
Audience has got to be close to the same though.
It really does, because I mean, you got people who were viewing it. I mean, you might have the douchebag who's in there's like, why isn't it in English? But I mean,
Yeah, right.
but I think
like that poster.
this is it's a beautiful shot. Then we have Godzilla from 1954 with a 94 critic score. The internet wasn't. How did they get this score when the internet wasn't around when that film was coming out?
They were going back. It's like Citizen Kane, I think, is like #2 on this site and whatnot. It's like
Right.
people just go back and review it.
Shin Godzilla, 2016. I actually did not see this film. However, there was a lot of discussion about which of the Godzillas is the most powerful, and my understanding is that Shin ranked really high on that list. So
Yeah, I don't know anything about this movie.
I don't. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, 96% or 86%. Then we have 100% here. I don't think they know how to rank order. Godzilla versus Destoroyah. Mothra.
These are gonna be like a lot of cheese ones.
Pre 90s, pre 2000s. So I'm just gonna go down until we find one that's in our current generation. So the 2003. This isn't the one with Matthew Broderick.
Holy shit, it's way down there.
Okay,
Godzilla versus Kong.
At 2013, Godzilla vs. Kong with a 76. And then Godzilla in 2014 tying it out of 76 as well. So these movies
Have
are
you seen Godzilla versus Kong?
yeah. I didn't care for it. I thought the introduction of Kong and like when Godzilla and Kong meet and Godzilla's on a boat chained to it in the middle of the freaking ocean.
And
I was
then
like,
they fight on the helicopter.
well, I'm just like, King Kong loses. Like King Kong loses on land. Like he loses on land. Why is he alive after that? Why is there still a boat? Like, and why is like the boat just acting like a very buoyant piece of wood being attacked by a shark? It's like
you got to throw physics out the window when you're watching these movies.
you really
But
do.
I think Godzilla 2014 is a superior film.
In my opinion, I agree entirely. I think it has a better cast. I think it tells a better story. I think Godzilla versus Kong is a continuation and a building of the franchise. So this is like the Avengers is going to be bigger than Iron Man or Captain America. It's because it's got the fan bases of both coming together. Kong and Godzilla were both independent films until they were brought together by this project. Godzilla Planet of Monsters. I actually loved this series. This was a Netflix.
That's just like a 3-part thing, right?
But each one of them is an hour and a half. So I mean,
they're damn near their own movies.
Yeah. I actually really liked that story. But then then it goes on and it just keeps going. So
there's a fuckload of.
There's so many.
I gotta see where 2000 is. No, not Godzilla 2000. But the one with
Matthew Broderick. Okay, 50. Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire at 54%. That's a very rotten tomato.
That's very rotten.
I don't. Godzilla King of Monsters.
That one's all right. I'd say it's better than
some of the other. Yeah, it's better than the combined projects. King of Monsters actually was, I thought, pretty good because didn't they
more fun?
They brought Ghidorah in. There it is.
There it is. That's the last
20% at the bottom of the list. Okay, hold on. Bottom of the list. Godzilla 1998 at a 20% Rotten Tomato score.
I got the consensus. Without compelling characters or heart, Godzilla stomps on everything that made the original or any monster movie worth its salt a classic.
Whoa, that's harsh, dude.
Well, Roland Emmerich directed. He's not very well loved.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So we thought since we were going to be talking about Godzilla -1 and the news surrounding it, that you guys would appreciate that we would go through and just see what Rotten Tomatoes is saying about the rank ordering of everything. We didn't obviously deep dive into each movie. There's 35 movies here, or almost 40 movies here. So, but I hope you guys appreciate it.
I gotta go back and watch the Matthew Broderick one now.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a 20% film, and you'll turn it off right away.
It might be better than all the MonsterVerse that they got going on.
Right. So, hope you guys appreciated us going into Godzilla -1. That's honestly a project I am now actually stoked for. You didn't have to work hard to sell me on that project. You just had to tell me that it was going to be comparable to the first one in its creativity and its direction. That's probably all you had to tell, because I didn't fall in love with the first one for the acting. Like, I didn't understand what anyone was fucking saying. It's like, I fell in love with it because of the story. I fell in love with it because of the premise. And I think it was the best version of Godzilla.
You can't tell if someone's being a good actor if they're speaking a different language.
Well, I can't tell how. Well, keep in mind, the dub is not them acting. So you have a voice actor and an actor.
Oh, I thought you watched the Japanese.
I watched the original. I watched the English dub. I wanted to pay attention to the scenes. I didn't necessarily care about the dialogue breakdown. Like, the dialogue breakdown is far less relevant than what's actually happening.
I always never get that. It's like, I can't watch movies with subtitles. I'm staring at the subtitles all along. Dude, like, how slow of a reader are you?
Dude, I watch shows with dub titles. Like, I watch anime in the original.
Subtitles.
What?
With dub titles.
Did I say dub titles? I watch shows with subtitles all the time.
Right.
Like, but if I'm going to sit down and I want to get the most out of it, I'm going to watch it in the original English, because I want to, like, you're not reading and seeing what's happening at the same time. That's just not, I mean, that's just not happening.
I don't know. I guess I do it so much that it doesn't bother me or anything.
Maybe you're just a superior human.
Yeah,
superior,
I'm just better than you.
Better ginger jeans.
I mean, it's a low bar.
All right, I think this podcast might run a little long. We got still have a lot to talk about.
Shit, yeah.
You good with that? All right.